So we decided to build a railroad to span a continent, one that would blast through mountains of granite and use thousands of miles of steel, and put to work an army of citizens and immigrants to work. It was an endeavor that would also require support of our government. It didn't just happen on its own. As General William T. Sherman said, "Uncle Sam is the only giant I know who can grapple the subject." So even as President Lincoln tried to hold the North and South together, he was determined to see this railroad. Unite East and West. And private companies joined the charge, racing one another to meet in the middle. And eventually, a telephone operator, a telegraph operator sent out a simple message to the cheers of a waiting nation. The telegraph just said, "Done. Done. Now." If he knew that we were still talking about it today, he might have come up with something more inspiring. But overnight, the Transcontinental Railroad laid the way for a nationwide economy. Not a bunch of local economies, but a nationwide economy. Suddenly, a cross-country trip was cut from months to days. The cost to move goods and mail plummeted. Cowboys drove cattle to rail cars that whisked them back east. Entrepreneurs could sell anything, anywhere. After the railroad was completed, a newspaper proclaimed, "We are the youngest of peoples." But we are teaching the world to march forward. Teaching the world to march forward. That's who we are. We are a nation that has always been built to compete. And that's why, Decades later, FDR set up the Rural Electrification Administration. To help bring power to vast swaths of America that were still in darkness. Companies said that building lines to rural areas would be too costly. I mean, big cities already had electricity. But they said, it's too costly to go out into remote areas. It's too costly to come up into the Upper Peninsula. So Americans in these towns went without refrigeration or running water. If you wanted a glimpse of the larger world, your town might run a movie off a small diesel engine. It might not even last the full film. Once power lines were laid down, electricity flowed to farms across the country, transforming millions of lives. There's a well-known story of a Texas family returning home the first night their farmhouse was hooked up. And a woman thought it was on fire. And her daughter said, "No, Mama, the lights are on." Think about that. That wasn't that long ago. And government was there to help make sure that everybody. Not just some but everybody, not just those who folks could make an immediate profit off of, but everybody had access to electricity. So years later, as our nation grew by leaps and bounds, we realized that a patchwork system of back roads and dirt paths couldn't handle the biggest economy in the world. So President Eisenhower helped make it possible to build an interstate highway system. And that, too, transformed the nation as much as the railways had. And finally, We could ship goods and services to places that the railroads didn't reach. It meant that we could live apart from where we worked. We could travel. We could see America. Each of these achievements, none of them just happened. We chose to do them. We chose to do big things. And every American benefited not just from new conveniences. Not just from the jobs created by laying down new lines or tracks or pavement. We benefited enormously from new economic growth from the scores of businesses. That opened near each town's new train station, or new power line, or new off-ramp. So this is a new century, and we can't expect tomorrow's economy to take root using yesterday's infrastructure. We got to think about what's the next thing, what's the next big thing. And make sure that we're at the forefront just like we were in the last century. Today, new companies are going to seek out the fastest, most reliable ways to move people. Goods and information, whether they are in Shanghai or in Chicago. So if we want new jobs and businesses here in America, we've got to have the best transportation system and the best communication network in the world. It's like that movie, Field of Dreams. If we build it, they will come. But we've got to build it. We've got to build it. Over the last 2 years, we've begun rebuilding for the 21st century. This is a national project that has meant thousands of jobs for the hard-hit construction industry. And I've now proposed redoubling these efforts. We want to put more Americans to work repairing crumbling bridges and roads. Within 25 years, our goal is to have 80% of Americans with access to high-speed rail. Which could allow you to go to places in half the time it takes by car. Within 5 years, we want to make it possible for businesses to put high-speed wireless services in reach of virtually every American. And that last part, high-speed wireless, is why I chose to come to Northern Michigan University today. Now let me give you some context. Today, more than 90% of homes in South Korea subscribe to high-speed broadband. They just have better networks than we do. In America, the nation that created the internet, by the way, because of government investment. It didn't just happen by itself magically because of government R&D. We created the internet, but yet only 65% of households here in America can say the same. When it comes to high-speed internet, the lights are still off in 1/3 of our households. One out of every 3 households in America don't have that same access. For millions of Americans, the railway hasn't showed up yet. For our families and our businesses, high-speed wireless service. That's the next train station, it's the next off-ramp. It's how we'll spark new innovation, new investment, new jobs. And you know this here in Northern Michigan. That's why I showed up, in addition to it being pretty and people being nice. For decades now, this university has given a new laptop to every incoming student. Wi-Fi stretched across campus. But if you lived off campus, like most students and teachers here, you were largely out of luck. Broadband was often too expensive to afford. And if you lived a bit further out of town, you were completely out of luck, because broadband providers, they often won't build networks where it's not profitable. Just like they wouldn't build electrical lines where it wasn't profitable. So this university tried something new. You partnered with various companies to build a high-speed, next-generation wireless network. And you managed to install it with 6 people in only 4 days without raising tuition. Good job. Good job. Mr. President. By the way, if you give me the name of these 6 people. There's a whole bunch of stuff in Washington I'd like to see done in 4 days with 6 people. So today, this is one of America's most connected universities. And enrollment is near the highest it's been in 30 years. And what's more, and this is what makes this special, you told nearby towns that if they allowed you to retrofit their towers with new equipment to expand your network. Then their schools, their first responders, their city governments could use it too. And as a result, police officers can access crime databases in their cars. And firefighters can download blueprints on the way to a burning building. And public works officials can save money by monitoring pumps and equipment remotely. And you've created new online learning opportunities for K-12 students as far as 30 miles away. Some of whom can't always make it to school in a place that averages 200 inches of snow a year. Now, some of these students don't appreciate the end of school snow days. I know Malia and Sasha get really excited about school snow days. Of course, in Washington things shut down when there's an inch of snow. But this technology is giving them more opportunity. It's good for their education, it's good for our economy. In fact, I just came from a demonstration of online learning in action. We were with Professor Lubig and he had plugged in Negaunee High School and Powell Township School in. Big Bay. So I felt like the guy in Star Trek. I was being beamed around across the Upper Peninsula here. But it was remarkable to see the possibilities for these young people who are able to. Let's say, do a chemistry experiment, and they can compare the results with kids in Boston. Or if there's some learning tool or material they don't have immediately accessible in their school. They can connect here to the university, and they're able to tap into it. It's opening up an entire world to them. And one of the young people who I was talking to, he talked about foreign policy and what we were seeing in places like Egyptian. And he said, what's amazing especially for us is that now we have a window to the entire world. And we can start understanding other cultures and other places in ways that we could never do without this technology.